Hi everyone, welcome to Sarawak. A few weeks ago I managed to get my hands on some rosewood. It's locally grown here in Sarawak and I believe that it is what's known as Burmese rosewood. Now the reason that it's not called Malaysian rosewood is that Malaysian rosewood, unfortunately, is the term for engineered woods that are made with a rosewood base, such as plywood or blockwood or any of those other sort of joined timbers of mixed rosewood or mixed wood nature. This particular piece of rosewood had been sitting around for a little while, maybe 2 to 3 weeks in the rain. And that's of note because as I got a little bit further through the wood, I started to notice in particular that the sapwood, the white wood as opposed to the redwood, had developed a small amount of spalting. Spalting is a fungal growth in a tree that's a precursor to rotting, and it actually leaves very fine black lines throughout the timber, which in this was only in the whiter sapwood, and it left quite a beautiful design and a beautiful pattern in it, which I thought was really nice. And you can see that spalting there, those black outlines is what is known as spalting. Now unfortunately it does make the wood a bit soft, so I did have to harden the wood up a little bit before I could even sand it properly. I was getting far too much tear out. Now the thing about rosewood and where it gets its name from, and I really wish that there was some ways that you could smell this through the internet, but whenever you cut this wood, whenever you turn this wood, or even when it's made into a table or a bowl for years afterwards, it still has this beautiful scent. And so while I was carving this, I was inundated with the rosewood smell that came from this particular piece of wood. Here in particular, you can also see that line of heartwood, the deep brown going through the middle of the lighter, whiter sapwood. And that lighter sapwood is where the spalting and the nice patterns were. So it was just lucky that I managed to keep a small amount of the heartwood running through it like a river. Now the lid was made out of another piece of rosewood that I had, but it was a pre-cut piece that was an offcut from a tabletop that someone had made at some point. I do regret making the mortise in this as small as I did. I really should have made it at least double that size. It would have made the lid a little bit lighter, but it also would have been a bit more in proportion. But unfortunately, once you flip it around, you can't keep turning it. Now this was sanded, but I cut it out of the video because it's a pretty boring process. You just stand there sanding. Dust comes off. That's about it. You can't see anything. Somehow this bit of rosewood was still a little bit wet, and the shavings that were coming off were absolutely burning my hands. So I ended up having to switch over to wearing gloves. I always like to make a finial or a knob or something out of belly yarn, just because it makes the box just a little bit more Sarawakian to me. It's a little bit more from here. I silenced this part because there was some awful screeching, so that's why there's no noise here. The lid in particular here shows a beautiful chatoyance that I'm really happy with. The tiger's eye moving underneath the surface of the wood. Absolutely beautiful. And I think the box turned out really lovely, and I'm quite happy with it. If you liked it, like it, subscribe if you want to see more. But most importantly, have a good one, guys.